ఈ విధంగా వచ్చిందనేది ఇక్కడ మనం చూస్తున్నాం. అందరూ అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి ఒకసారి. 15 మోడర్న్ ఫార్మింగ్ టెక్నాలజీస్. సో వరల్డ్ వైడ్ అగ్రికల్చర్లో వచ్చిన టాప్ 15 మోడర్న్ టెక్నాలజీస్ ఏంటనేది ఇక్కడ మనం చూస్తున్నాం. అందరూ అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి ఒకసారి.
Farmers are not always aware of exactly which pests are attempting to eat away at their crops, and this is where TrapView comes into play. You see, this product is essentially a pest trap on steroids, as it not only catches bugs, but then photographs them and sends you the data in real time, allowing farmers to make an educated response that not only tackles the correct type of pest, but does so in the correct area of their fields as well. Due to this ultimately leading to them saving money on fertilizer in the long run and having less of their crop compromised due to insects, the TrapView certainly is a good addition to the majority of farms. Number 12, the self-driving tractor. Let's face it, when we think of a farm, one of the first images that comes to mind is a farmer driving a tractor. While this may in fact have been common to see at farms decades ago, in recent years the agricultural industry has begun to shift from drivable tractors to completely automated ones. Manufactured by a number of companies that include but are not limited to John Deere, Fendt, and Case IH. These tractors navigate by using lasers that bounce signals off several mobile transponders located around the field, and at times they will be controlled remotely by a farmer sitting in the comfort of their own home. They are also often equipped with a number of sensors which allow them to stop for obstacles and thus not pose a safety threat to anything around them. As a result, we wouldn't be surprised to see these convenient vehicles surge in popularity as more and more of them enter the market. Number 11, full harvest. Put simply, food waste is one of the biggest issues in the agricultural industry. After all, it's estimated that 20 billion pounds of ugly produce go to waste each year, with this amounting to massive amounts of water, methane, and potential nutrition simply being left uneaten. Yet while farmers are often unable to sell imperfect produce to grocery stores due to its low market value, Full Harvest is trying to change this narrative by creating a B2B marketplace where farmers can connect with consumers in order to sell off produce that they otherwise would have had to throw away. The system essentially works almost like an online shop would, as farmers will post their surplus food and then, once they receive an order, ship it out to the customer, with the farmer getting paid instantly by Full Harvest for this effort. As a result, Full Harvest makes it possible for farmers to make profits off of what is essentially their garbage, making it a true only finding ways in which Terrasentia can measure early vigor, corn ear height, soybean pods, plant biomass, and plant diseases. It becomes clear that this robot truly is a grade A machine. Number 9, Cray Technologies Agricultural Drone. Typically speaking, labor costs tend to be a major headache for many farmers, as it's often quite expensive to pay workers to plant, water, spray, and ultimately harvest crops. However, Cray Technologies has made this no longer a problem by developing the world's first digital and fully unmanned drone crop sprayer. It essentially works by flying over fields and using sprayers to deliver on-demand fertilizers and pesticides right to the farmers' fields, with the machine having the capability of servicing just south of 5 square kilometers of crops per day. Yet rather than simply spray arbitrary amounts of fertilizer, the agricultural drone is programmed to visualize a field in 3D, allowing it to give the exact amount of fertilizer necessary at the exact times its weight in water, while maintaining its mechanical strength. It essentially works by holding excess water near a plant's roots in reserve, so that if a dry spell occurs, it can then release the water into the crops and keep them from drying out. As a result, this continuous watering reduces seed and plant stress between irrigation cycles and can improve crop yields, with it reportedly working across a wide range of crops and soil types. In fact, researchers at UC Davis found that when this additive was used, it led to a broccoli crop becoming 30% larger, despite using 25% less water, proving that the product truly does work. To top this off, when you consider that Bounty Gel is completely eco-friendly and can last for 3 years before biodegrading into the soil, it becomes clear that this additive is a sure investment. Number 7, Trace Genomics. While genetics is a field of study that is typically dominated by both humans and animals, Trace Genomics is a company with a mission to extend genetics. Essentially the equivalent of a dirt-based 23andMe. It helps farmers eliminate guesswork by definitively determining whether or not a patch of soil is too degraded to grow crops on. How does the company do this, you may ask? Well, first they start by analyzing the soil's biology, by applying proprietary soil DNA extraction and sequencing to index and quantify millions of microbes within it. From there, it uses the power of machine learning to decode these microbes, using data analysis to compare the soil sample they collected against a large and growing set of soil data. From there, Trace Genomics combines the soil's biological data with its chemical data to create a report on how strong the soil is. This ultimately allows the farmer to decide whether or not growing on a certain plot of land will be profitable, thus ensuring that farming the area won't be lackluster, but will instead be both efficient and economically viable. As such, despite it being founded in 2015, Trace Genomics has seen stellar growth since it was first brought to market. Number 6. Indoor vertical farming. In recent years, a very interesting new concept known as indoor vertical farming has taken root in more urban environments with limited land space. In essence, this involves building up rather than building horizontally in regards to agriculture, as it encourages. Number 5. Satellite imagery. While satellites may typically be associated with space travel and your Wi-Fi, and generally speaking leads to larger crops per resource used. To top this off, this type of farming is also very economically efficient, as the labor involved is typically much cheaper, and the transport costs are marginal due to the ability to implement vertical farming techniques practically anywhere. As a result, vertical farming really is a good way to combat the land and labor shortage in the agricultural industry. Number 5. Satellite imagery. While satellites may typically be associated with space travel and your Wi-Fi, it turns out that they have a major role to play in farming as well. That's because a number of companies now offer satellite service to fields that can give farmers round-the-clock information about their crops from an aerial perspective. Now, these services typically work by charting fields with 3 to 5 meter resolution imagery, and then using the data to determine a number of variables regarding crop health. In particular, they use metrics such as the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, Canopy Chlorophyll Content Index, and Modified Soil-Adjusted Vegetation Index to assess the status of a field of crops. From there, the satellites can generate recommendations on how best to fertilize these crops, where chemical treatments might be needed, and perhaps most impressively of all, estimate crop yields before they're even harvested. To top this off, many of these satellites even have an automatic alert system, meaning that rather than just offering data, they will instead generate it for you. Interestingly enough, there is also a completely separate environmental service that is often offered by these satellite companies. That's because they can detect change in a landscape over time, and thus be contracted by private individuals and governments to monitor air crops are receiving. This information can then be transmitted to a computer analysis tool, which takes this data and then converts it to usable results and recommendations. It should also be noted that generally speaking, drones are a lot more accurate than satellites, as they can fly much closer to the crops, and due to them being able to gather data on 2 to 4 square kilometers of fields in less than a day, they certainly are very capable on smaller plots of land. However, where these drones fall short is in their cost-benefit ratio. After all, drones are typically very expensive, thus making the business of flying them over fields to analyze crops expensive as well. To top it off, while their info is often more accurate than that of a satellite, it is also quite limited in terms of scope due to their inability to fly over very large distances. As a result, they're not always the best option for larger-scale farms, and are typically better to be used to complement rather than replace a satellite tracking system. Number 3. Bove control. When it comes to the sheer quantity of animals dealt with, the industrial cattle farming industry is a bit of a nightmare, as the sheer amounts of cows that have to be raised, butchered, and slaughtered can lead to severe inefficiencies in regards to not only meat and milk production, but healthy genetics-backed breeding. However, Bove control, which has coined itself as the Internet for cows, has made these problems a thing of the past. That's because this app can track nearly every aspect of your cattle business, with it tracking everything from the cow's age and size to more intricate things such as nutritional facts, sanitary information, and ultimately the shipping of meat and milk products. But how does this work, you may ask? Well, the farmer starts first by putting in basic info about each cow, with this including data such as dates of birth, vaccinations, medications, pregnancies, and weight. The app then uses tattoos, ear tags, or implanted chips to track each cow, with this information constantly being collected and put into Bove Control's system. Once this data is collected, Bove Control can then produce graphs and timelines that outline the status of their animals, allowing ranchers to make more information. That's because the Farmers Business Network is essentially an all-around tool to allow farmers to manage every financial aspect. Throughout the Midwestern United States, fields typically undergo a 2-crop phase, where they first grow corn, then soybeans, and then corn once more. And quite similar to canola. What makes Covercress special is that it not only has the potential to be an attractive product, but it's also meant to be grown during the winter and spring months, when nothing is growing anyways. According to the company, Covercress is very easy to grow, as it simply can be planted onto fields in the fall and then harvested in mid-May. As a result, we hope this new high-tech crop will one day be a staple throughout the Midwest. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, Cress. Throughout the Midwestern United States, fields typically undergo a two-crop phase, where they first grow corn, then soybeans, and then corn.
వస్తుందిగా ఎప్పుడు చూసి వెరైటీ ఎప్పుడు వినని ధర డౌన్లోడ్ మీషో.
సో క్యాబేజీ ప్రాసెసింగ్ ఏ రకంగా జరుగుతుందో ఇక్కడ చూడండి. సో వరల్డ్ వైడ్ అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాల్లో టెక్నాలజీ అనేది ఏ రకంగా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, ఏ రకంగా అభివృద్ధి చెందింది అనేది మనం చూడొచ్చు. సో ఈ రకంగా టెక్నాలజీని యూస్ చేసుకోవడం ద్వారా ఖర్చులు తగ్గించుకోవడం, అలాగే సమయాన్ని కూడా తగ్గించుకోవడం అనేది చేయొచ్చు. క్రాపు చాలా త్వరగా చేతికి వచ్చేటట్టు చేసుకోవచ్చు అన్నమాట. సో ఈ విధంగా భారతదేశంలో కూడా సాంకేతిక పరిజ్ఞానం అభివృద్ధి చెందితే మన దేశంలో కూడా వ్యవసాయ రంగాన్ని విస్తృతంగా మనం డెవలప్ చేయొచ్చు అన్నమాట. చూడండి, ప్రతి పంట విషయంలో కూడా వీళ్ళ మిషన్స్ బాగా ఉపయోగిస్తున్నారు. సో ఆనియన్స్ ఏ రకంగా చేస్తున్నారు చూడండి. మనకైతే అన్నీ కూడా మ్యాన్ పవర్ ద్వారానే చేస్తారు, అన్నీ కూలీల ద్వారా, మనుషుల ద్వారా చేస్తారు. ఇక్కడ అన్నీ కూడా మొత్తం అంతా మిషన్స్ ద్వారానే జరుగుతుంది చూడండి.